The day started like any other. The human man, Daniel, sat in his small house at the edge of the colony street. He had just made coffee, the air smelled warm and safe. Outside, the morning sun glowed over metal roofs and dusty roads. Life in this mixed human-alien colony was strange sometimes, but Daniel had grown used to it. Every morning, without fail, the alien mail carrier came. She was tall, with pale blue skin, long silver hair tied behind her head, and golden eyes that seemed to glow even in daylight. Her name was Lyra, and she always carried a heavy satchel filled with letters, packages, and official notes from the city station. Daniel had seen her hundreds of times, always quiet, always professional, but today, something was wrong. When Lyra walked up the street, her steps were uneven, her breathing sounded heavy, like she had run a long distance. Sweat glistened on her forehead even though the air was cool. Daniel frowned, leaning on the doorway as she approached. "Morning, Lyra," he greeted politely. Expecting the usual calm nod, instead Lyra froze. Her golden eyes flickered, and for a second, Daniel thought she might collapse. She clutched the mailbag tighter, her hands trembling as if the weight was unbearable, but Daniel knew she had carried heavier loads before without trouble. "Are you okay?" Daniel asked, stepping forward. Lyra blinked hard, forcing herself to straighten. Her voice came out rough and low. "Delivery. For you." She reached into the bag, her fingers shaking. The envelope she handed him slipped, fluttering down before Daniel quickly caught it. Up close he saw it. A faint glow moved under her skin, pulsing like fireflies trapped beneath. It wasn't normal. Daniel had seen many alien species and their odd traits, but Lyra had never looked like this before. Her breathing quickened, and her eyes darted around nervously. "Lyra, you don't look well," Daniel said carefully, his human instinct telling him this was serious. "I'm fine," she whispered. But her voice cracked, her body swayed forward, and Daniel grabbed her arm before she fell. The heat shocked him instantly. Her skin was burning hot, not like fever, hot like metal left under the sun. Daniel pulled his hand back, his eyes wide. "What the hell? You're on fire." Lyra pressed her lips together, fighting for control. "Not fire," she said weakly. "It's the cycle." Daniel had no idea what that meant, but before he could ask, she stumbled again. This time her knees buckled, and she nearly dropped to the ground. Daniel caught her shoulders, holding her steady. Her entire body shook like she was fighting something inside herself. The street around them had grown quiet. A few neighbors peeked out from windows, whispering, watching. They saw the glowing alien and the human holding her, but none dared to step closer. Everyone in this colony knew better than to interfere with another species' private matters. Daniel felt the weight of her body against his chest, her burning skin pressing through his shirt. "You need help," he said firmly. "Do I call the med station?" "Do I take you somewhere?" Lyra's eyes flashed with sudden fear. "No. No medics," she begged, her fingers clutching his shirt tightly. "If they see me like this, they'll—" She stopped, her breath catching in her throat. Her words turned into a low growl. Daniel stiffened for a second, her pupils stretched, her golden eyes glowing brighter. He didn't know if she was still fully in control. His heart pounded as he tried to think. The mailbag slipped from her shoulder, spilling letters across the dusty ground. Daniel glanced down, then back at her face. She looked fragile, but dangerous at the same time, something primal. Something alien was taking over. Lyra's breathing grew louder, faster. Each inhale sounded like a hiss. Her skin glowed brighter, light tracing along the veins of her neck and arms. Daniel had seen engines overheat, machines ready to explode. This looked the same, but inside a living being. He wanted to step back, but her hand still gripped his shirt, holding him close. "Lyra," he whispered, his throat dry. "What is happening to you?" Her lips parted, trembling. "Heat," she finally said, barely audible. "My heat has started." Daniel's stomach twisted at the word. The way she said it, desperate, frightened, and full of shame. He realized this was not an illness, but something deeper, biological, something she could not stop. The neighbors whispered louder now, some shutting their doors quickly, afraid of what might happen. A child cried, pulled away by his mother. The whole street seemed to retreat, leaving only Daniel standing there with the alien carrier who looked ready to collapse. Lyra suddenly pushed away, stumbling back. "Stay away," she shouted, but her voice broke halfway through. She pressed her hands against her temples, her body trembling violently. Sparks of golden light flickered from her skin and faded in the air like tiny embers. Daniel took a step forward anyway. His instincts screamed at him to run, but something in him refused. He couldn't just leave her like this, not when she was clearly in pain, not when no one else would help. Lyra, he called again, his voice steady. Look at me. Tell me what you need. Tell me how to help. Her glowing eyes locked onto his, full of fear and something else, something wild. Her chest rose and fell quickly, and for a moment it seemed like she would answer, but then she collapsed. Daniel caught her just before her head hit the ground. The burning heat nearly seared his arms, sweat already running down his forehead. He held her tight, staring at her glowing skin, her trembling body, and the strange energy that made the very air hum. The letters lay scattered around them, forgotten. The colony street was silent. Everyone had vanished indoors, leaving Daniel alone with a mystery he never expected. The strange delivery had turned into something far bigger, far more dangerous, and Daniel's quiet life had just ended. Daniel knelt on the dusty ground, holding Lyra's burning body against his chest. Her silver hair clung to her damp forehead, her golden eyes half open, glowing faintly. She looked weak, yet dangerous, like a storm trapped inside a fragile shell. "Stay with me," Daniel whispered, his voice low but firm. He looked around, hoping someone would come out and help, but every window was closed, every door locked. The whole street had vanished, leaving him alone with the alien who looked ready to explode. Lyra's skin burned hotter, so hot that Daniel's arms shook. He almost dropped her, but forced himself to hold on. He could hear a strange hum coming from her chest, a rhythm too fast, like an engine running out of control. Suddenly her body jerked and she gasped. "No, not here, too many eyes." Daniel bent close. "Where do I take you? Tell me." Her voice was broken, but the words came. "Inside. Anywhere private. Hurry." Daniel dragged her to his doorway, kicking letters out of the way. He pulled her into his small home and shut the door behind them. The moment the lock clicked, Lyra collapsed fully, falling against the wooden floor. The glow under her skin pulsed stronger now, spreading across her arms, neck and chest. Daniel stared, stunned. "What is happening to you?" he asked again. His voice trembling this time. Lyra clutched her own arms, her nails digging into her glowing skin. "It's the cycle," she whispered. "My heat. It comes once every few years. When it starts, I can't stop it. I can't control the energy. If it overflows, it will burn everything near me." Daniel's breath caught in his throat. He looked at the wooden walls, the small shelves, the thin curtains. All of it would go up in flames if she was telling the truth. And her glowing skin made him believe she was. "Then what do I do?" Daniel asked, kneeling beside her. "How do I stop it?" Lyra shook her head, her silver hair falling across her glowing face. "You can't. Only my kind know how to handle it, but I'm far from home. I thought I had more time. But it came early." She looked at him with desperate eyes. "If anyone sees me like this, they'll call the guards. And the guards will take me away. Lock me in a containment unit until the heat burns itself out, and sometimes we don't survive that." Her words hit him like a blade. She was not only suffering, she was afraid of being treated like a danger, like a weapon instead of a person. Daniel wiped sweat from his forehead, his own body burning from standing so close to her. He backed up a little, but not too far. "Then I won't call the guards," he said firmly. "But I need to know how to help you." Lyra's lips trembled. Her hands pressed to the floor as she tried to push herself up. But her body shook too hard. She collapsed again. Her golden eyes flashed brighter, and a wave of heat rolled across the room, making the coffee cup on the table crack. Daniel flinched, realizing her warning was true. Her heat wasn't just in her body, it was spreading out, breaking things, changing the air. The walls groaned softly. Wood drying under the pressure, he rushed to open a window, but the glass fogged instantly from the heat. He turned back to her, his heart racing. "Lyra, listen. If you don't tell me what to do, you'll destroy this place." For a moment, she was silent. Her chest rose and fell rapidly, glowing veins throbbing under her skin. Then she spoke, her voice a whisper. "Anchor me." Daniel frowned. "Anchor? What does that mean?" Lyra's glowing hand reached for his. Her touch nearly burned him, but she held on tightly. "An anchor. Someone strong, someone steady. If I can focus on one person, if I can tie my energy to them, it will not spread everywhere, it will flow into them. Just enough to keep me balanced." Daniel's eyes widened. "You mean into me?" Lyra nodded weakly. "Yes, but it's dangerous. Human bodies aren't built for this. The heat might tear you apart. You could die." Daniel swallowed hard. The air around them shimmered like summer haze. His shirt clung to his skin, sweat dripping down his face. He felt trapped between fear and duty. If he left her, she could burn down the whole street. If he stayed, he might not live through the night. His eyes locked with hers, golden fire burning behind her trembling lids. She looked terrified, not of herself, but of hurting him. Daniel drew in a shaky breath. "If I don't anchor you, you'll lose control, right?" "Yes," she whispered. "And everyone out there will suffer, children, families. I don't want that, please. Help me, even if it costs you." Daniel's heart pounded. He thought of the neighbors who had shut their doors, of the child crying outside, of the silence on the street. No one else would help her. No one else would even try. His hand shook as he slowly pressed it over hers. The heat was unbearable, but he didn't pull away. "Then I'll be your anchor," he said, his voice steady. "We'll face this together." The moment he said it, her body jerked violently. Her glow surged, bright as molten gold. The room filled with light and heat. Daniel cried out as burning energy shot through his arm, racing into his chest. His vision blurred, but he refused to let go. Lyra gasped, her eyes wide. Her glow steadied for a moment, her trembling slowed. Yes. It's working," she whispered. Daniel gritted his teeth, his whole body shaking. His skin burned, but he stayed kneeling beside her. Their hands locked, their breaths uneven. It felt like standing in the heart of a furnace. Outside, the colony street remained silent, unaware of what was happening inside the small house, unaware that a single human had just tied himself to an alien in heat, and that his life was about to change forever. Daniel's hand trembled, locked tightly with Lyra's glowing fingers. The heat inside her body poured into him like liquid fire. His skin burned, his chest pounded, but he refused to let go. He had promised to anchor her, and he would not break that promise. Lyra gasped, her golden eyes wide. Her body jerked violently as waves of heat tore through her veins. But slowly, with Daniel's grip steady on her hand, the wild energy began to focus. It flowed toward him, pulled into the human anchor she had chosen. At first it seemed to work. The light around her dimmed a little, her trembling slowed, but then something unexpected happened. The heat that entered Daniel's body refused to stay calm. It rushed through his veins, burning his muscles. Filling his lungs, he staggered, dropping to one knee. His head spun as if he had swallowed lightning. "Daniel!" Lyra cried, her voice breaking. "You must let go. It's too much for you." But Daniel shook his head. His teeth gritted. "No. I won't leave you. If I let go, you'll lose control again." Lyra's chest heaved, tears gathering in her glowing eyes. "You don't understand. Human bodies aren't made for this. Your heart—" She stopped suddenly, her words cut short as another violent wave of heat burst from her body. This time it cracked the wooden floor beneath them. Sparks flickered in the air like tiny fireflies. Daniel winced but tightened his grip, refusing to give in. Outside the small house, neighbors whispered, peeking through shutters. The glow, seeping through Daniel's windows, was bright enough to see from the street. Some people muttered that the alien mail carrier had finally lost her mind. Others said the human was doomed for standing so close. Inside, Daniel felt his body weaken. His arms shook, sweat dripped down his back, his vision blurred. The heat inside him was too much, like carrying molten steel in his chest, and then it happened. His coffee mug on the table shattered without being touched. The window cracked, books on the shelf curled, their pages blackened by invisible fire. Daniel looked around, horrified. It wasn't just Lyra anymore. The heat was now inside him too, spreading through his body, changing the air around him. "Daniel," Lyra whispered, staring at him in shock. "You're reacting. You're not supposed to react like this." Daniel coughed, his lungs burning. What do you mean?" Lyra crawled closer, clutching his arm with both hands. "Humans, they shouldn't be able to carry our heat. It should burn you, yes, but not spread. Not like this. Something inside you is different. Before Daniel could respond, a sudden crack echoed through the house. A lamp burst into sparks, throwing shards across the floor. Daniel flinched, covering his face with his arm. Lyra's glow surged again, but this time, her energy linked directly with Daniel's. He could feel her heartbeat pounding inside his chest. He could feel her fear, her shame, her desperate struggle, and she could feel him too. His stubborn courage, his refusal to run, his burning pain. For one moment, their minds connected, their breaths matched, their eyes locked, and the heat inside them both pulsed together, neither destroying nor fading, but the balance was fragile. Suddenly, Daniel screamed, his body arching backward. The energy burst out of him in a golden shockwave that rattled the entire house. Outside, people gasped as windows cracked and dust rose into the air. The neighbors whispered louder now. "He's possessed," one muttered. "He's going to explode." Another hissed. A few began running down the street, searching for guards. Inside, Daniel fell forward, gasping for breath. His shirt was soaked with sweat, his arms glowing faintly where Lyra's fingers had held him. He looked at her in shock. What's happening to me?" Lyra's eyes widened. She touched his chest with a trembling hand. "You're absorbing it. You're not just an anchor. You're carrying my heat inside you. Human bodies shouldn't be able to do this, but you are." Daniel's head spun. He wanted to argue, to deny it, but his body betrayed him. Another pulse of golden light burst from his skin, lighting up the small room. Lyra's voice shook, half in fear, half in awe. "Daniel, if you keep absorbing my heat, it will change you. I don't know if you'll survive." Daniel looked into her glowing golden eyes, his chest heaving. "If it saves you, I'll risk it," he said firmly. Her lips parted, as if she wanted to argue, but the words never came. Instead, she stared at him, stunned. No one had ever said such words to her before, not even her own kind. Then, footsteps echoed outside. Heavy boots pounding the street, shouts carried through the air. "Open the door! Step away from the alien!" Daniel's blood ran cold. The guards had arrived, drawn by the light and the shock waves. They would see Lyra in her heat. They would drag her away, maybe kill her. Lyra's eyes filled with terror. "No, not them," she whispered. "If they take me now, I won't survive." Daniel staggered to his feet, his body still burning, but his resolve clear. He stood between her and the door, his fists clenched, his voice low but steady. "Then they'll have to get through me first." The door rattled as fists pounded against it. Splinters fell. The glow from Daniel's skin brightened. His life had turned into chaos in one day, but he knew one thing: he would not let her go. The heat inside him pulsed again, ready to burst, and outside, the guards shouted louder, demanding to be let in. The pounding on the door grew louder. The wooden frame shook under the heavy fists of the colony guards. Their muffled voices barked orders. "Human, step away from the alien. Open the door now." Daniel stood in front of the door, his fists clenched tight. His chest glowed faintly with the golden heat he had absorbed from Lyra. Sweat rolled down his temples, but his eyes were sharp. He would not let them take her. Behind him, Lyra sat slumped against the wall, her body still glowing, though softer now. Her breaths were ragged, her silver hair plastered to her damp skin. She stared at Daniel with wide golden eyes, torn between fear and disbelief. "They can't see me like this," she whispered, clutching her arms. "If they see me in heat, they'll lock me in a containment cell. They'll treat me like a weapon, not a person. Please, don't let them in." Daniel turned his head slightly, keeping his eyes on the shaking door. "Then tell me the truth, Lyra. If I'm going to stand between you and them, I need to know what I'm protecting. No more half answers. No more secrets." Lyra's lips trembled. Her eyes darted to the glowing veins on her arms. Shame filled her voice. "My people, we are born with fire inside us. Every few years, it rises. It's called the heat cycle. It makes us dangerous, violent, if uncontrolled." Daniel frowned. "Dangerous how, like now? All this glowing, the shock waves, the burning. Lyra nodded weakly. Yes, but it is worse when left unchecked. The heat builds and builds until it destroys everything around us. Some of my kind can't survive it. They burn themselves from the inside. Others lose control completely and they are executed. Her voice cracked on the last word. Tears shone in her eyes. She hugged herself tighter, curling into the wall as if to hide from his gaze. That's why I hide it. That's why I carry mail. A simple job away from my people's watch, I thought. Maybe I could live quietly, avoid notice, avoid the cycle until I was ready. Daniel turned fully toward her now, his jaw tightening. But you weren't ready, were you? She shook her head. No. It came early this time. I felt it burning inside me for weeks. I tried to fight it. I told myself it would pass. But today, it broke free. And if the guards take me, they won't let me out. They'll lock me in a sealed chamber until the heat either burns away or burns me alive. Daniel's fists loosened slightly. His anger shifted into something else. Pity, sorrow, a heavy weight in his chest. He had seen cruelty before. He knew what it meant when authorities treated someone like a problem instead of a person. Lyra looked up at him, then her eyes desperate. That's why I begged you not to call the medics. That's why I begged you to leave me. Because anyone who sees me like this will only see a monster. The pounding on the door grew harder. A voice shouted, "Last warning, human! Step aside!" Daniel clenched his jaw, heat pulsing in his chest again. He glanced down at his glowing arms. The power from her cycle had already marked him. He didn't understand it fully, but he knew one thing. Her danger was not her fault. He stepped back toward her, kneeling in front of her trembling body. Lyra, listen to me. You're not a monster. You're someone caught in something you can't control. And I don't care what your people call it. You're not going to be taken away. Not while I'm here. Her eyes widened, shimmering with tears. Why? Why would you risk yourself for me? You barely know me. Daniel managed a faint smile, though his body shook with heat. Because no one else will. Everyone else closed their doors, everyone else turned away, but I can't. It's not who I am. Lyra's throat tightened. She covered her mouth with her hand, her shoulders shaking. For the first time since the cycle began, she let herself cry. The sound was soft, broken, but real. The door cracked suddenly. Splinters flew into the room as the guards forced it open with a heavy kick. Daniel shot to his feet, his body glowing brighter. Heat surged through him as if answering his determination. He stood tall between Lyra and the door. "Stay back," he shouted, his voice carrying through the air like a thunderclap. The guards hesitated, their boots halting mid-step. Their eyes widened at the sight of the human whose skin glowed with golden light. One of them muttered in shock, "He's carrying it." "The human is carrying the alien's heat." Whispers spread quickly among them. Fear and confusion filled their faces. None dared to rush forward. Daniel's chest burned. His fists clenched at his sides. He had no weapon, no armor. But the heat inside him pulsed like fire waiting to explode. And he knew, if they tried to take her, he would use it, even if it killed him. Behind him, Lyra stared in awe, her golden eyes fixed on him. Her lips parted as she whispered softly, "Daniel, why do you fight for me this way? You could run, you could leave, but you stay." Daniel didn't turn around. His eyes stayed locked on the guards, but his voice was steady. "Because you deserve someone who won't leave. That's all the reason I need." The silence in the small house was broken only by the hiss of the glowing air. The guards shifted uneasily, unsure of their next move. And Lyra, for the first time in her life, felt something stronger than the heat cycle. She felt hope. The cracked door hung half open. The colony guards stood outside, their weapons in hand, but none dared to step in. Inside the small house, Daniel glowed faintly, golden fire pulsing under his skin. He stood in front of Lyra like a shield, breathing heavily but refusing to move. Lyra sat against the wall, still trembling, her body burned with heat. But she wasn't the only one now. The energy inside her had poured into Daniel, and it was no longer contained, it was growing, leaking into the air. The wooden walls creaked, the floorboards groaned. A cup on the shelf rattled until it shattered. Heat shimmered like waves across the room. Outside, neighbors gathered at a distance, whispering nervously. The glow from the house spilled through the cracks. Bright enough for everyone to see, children were pulled back by frightened parents. Some people called for more guards. Others said to burn the house before the fire spread. Lyra buried her face in her hands, shame and fear twisting inside her. "It's happening again," she whispered. "The heat is spreading. I can't control it anymore." Daniel turned to her, his body trembling. "It's not just you," he said, his voice low. "It's in me too now, and it's reaching out. Like it wants to burn everything around us." Lyra lifted her golden eyes to him, horrified. "That's impossible. No human should survive this long, but you're carrying it, and now it's leaking into the world." As if to prove her words, the air vibrated with another pulse. The street lamps outside flickered. Metal posts groaned, sparks snapped in the dirt road. Everyone gasped, stepping back in fear. The guards shouted, "Contain them both before the colony burns." Daniel's jaw tightened. He looked back at Lyra, who shook her head desperately. "If they take us, they'll kill us, Daniel. They'll burn us both to ashes before the heat reaches the city." Daniel's fists clenched. The fire inside him roared hotter, answering his anger. "Then they'll have to kill me trying," he muttered. His eyes glowed faintly. A reflection of the golden fire within, he stepped forward, placing himself fully in the doorway. The guards raised their weapons, but the closer they came, the stronger the heat pulsed outward. Their metal armor grew hot, forcing them to back away with curses. One guard yelled, "He's becoming one of them! The human is infected!" The crowd gasped, more whispers spreading like wildfire. Daniel could hear them, fear, disgust, judgment. It felt like knives in his back, but he refused to step aside. Behind him, Lyra struggled to her feet, clutching the wall for balance. "Daniel, it's my fault, all of it. If I'd stayed away, you'd still be safe. Your life wouldn't be in chaos." Daniel turned his head slightly, his voice firm despite the heat. "Don't blame yourself, Lyra. This isn't your fault. This is their fault." He jerked his chin toward the guards outside. "For treating you like a monster instead of helping you." Her lips parted. Trembling, she had lived her whole life believing her cycle made her dangerous, untouchable. But Daniel's words cut through the shame like a blade. For the first time, someone stood with her, not against her. Suddenly, another surge hit them both. The ground shook. Dust rained from the ceiling. A blast of golden heat burst through the roof, lighting the sky above the colony. The crowd outside screamed. People ran in every direction. Some fell to their knees, crying out in terror. The guards stumbled back, shielding their eyes from the blinding glow. Daniel staggered, gripping the doorframe. His chest burned as if molten fire lived inside his heart. He coughed, nearly falling, but Lyra rushed forward, grabbing his arm. Her touch was hot, but steadier now. "You're burning too fast," she warned, her voice urgent. "If you keep absorbing the heat, your body will collapse. You'll die, Daniel." He looked into her glowing eyes, his jaw set. "Then tell me how to control it. Tell me how to stop this before the whole colony is destroyed." Lyra hesitated, fear flashing across her face. "There's only one way, but if you do it, there's no turning back." "Tell me," Daniel snapped, his voice raw. She swallowed hard. "You must bond with me. Not just anchor, bond. It means tying your life to mine, sharing the heat forever. If you survive, the fire will obey you. If you fail, it will consume you." Daniel froze, the meaning heavy in his chest. Bonding sounded like more than survival. It sounded permanent, like a vow he couldn't undo. Before he could answer, the guards charged again, this time with larger weapons glowing with containment fields. They shouted orders, sparks crackling in their hands. Lyra's golden eyes filled with terror. "Daniel, if they hit you with that, you'll never stand again." Daniel's fists glowed, the heat inside him roaring like a storm. He glanced at Lyra, then at the terrified guards, then at the burning sky above. His choice burned clear. "If bonding is the only way to save us, then I'll do it," he said. His voice steady despite the chaos. Lyra's breath caught. Her chest rose and fell quickly. "Daniel, you don't know what you're saying. Once you bond with me, your life will never be the same." Daniel's lips curved into a faint, tired smile. "It already isn't." Another wave of heat burst outward, this one bigger than before. The guards scattered, the crowd screamed. The colony itself trembled under the pressure. Inside the ruined house, Lyra and Daniel clung to each other, golden fire spiraling between them. And in that moment, chaos spread beyond walls, beyond streets into the sky itself. The colony would never forget the night the alien mail carrier went into heat, and a human chose to stand with her. The house shook like it would collapse any moment. The golden fire inside Daniel and Lyra spun wildly, pressing against the walls, burning through the roof. The guards outside had backed away, shouting for reinforcements, but no one dared step closer. Inside, Daniel held Lyra tightly. His chest glowed brighter with every second, his skin hot enough to make the air ripple. His knees shook, his vision blurred, but he refused to let go. "Tell me how," Daniel demanded, his voice rough. "Tell me how to bond with you before this kills us both." Lyra's hands trembled against his arms. Her golden eyes searched his face, filled with fear. "Daniel, you don't understand. Bonding is not a simple act, it is forever. Your life, my life, they become one. If one falls, the other falls too." Daniel swallowed hard. The heat clawed at his chest like fire trying to escape. He knew he didn't have long. "Then teach me," he said, his voice steady even as sweat poured down his face. "I'd rather risk forever than watch you die now." Her lips parted, disbelief flashing across her features. She had never met a human or anyone willing to say such words. For a heartbeat, her eyes softened. But then another surge of heat ripped through her body. Making her cry out, Daniel tightened his grip. Pulling her close, "Lyra, stay with me," she gasped, her voice breaking. "The bond. It requires trust. It requires you to open yourself fully. No secrets, no lies. Your heart, your soul must meet mine. If you hold back, the fire will burn you alive." Daniel's chest heaved. He thought of his quiet life before this, his empty days in the colony, the mornings of coffee and silence. Then he thought of the way Lyra had looked at him, not as a stranger, but as if his choice mattered. He nodded, his jaw firm. "Then I'll open myself. Do it, Lyra." Her golden eyes shimmered, tears slipping down her glowing cheeks. "You're insane," she whispered, "but you're the bravest soul I've ever met." She raised her burning hand and pressed it against his chest. The heat pierced his skin like a blade. Daniel groaned, nearly collapsing, but he forced himself to stand. He placed his hand over hers, pressing it harder against his racing heart. Lyra closed her eyes, whispering words in her alien tongue. The sound was soft, ancient, like fire humming through the air. The glow spread from her hand into Daniel's body, golden veins racing across his chest, arms and neck. The pain was unbearable. Daniel gasped, his back arching. He felt like molten lava was being poured into his veins. Every nerve screamed, his knees buckled. But Lyra held him tight, whispering faster, tears streaming down her face. "Stay with me, Daniel. Don't let go." Daniel's teeth clenched, his vision dimming. But then something changed. Through the pain, he felt her. Not just her body pressed against his, but her mind, her memories, her soul. He saw flashes, Lyra as a child, glowing faintly while her mother whispered lullabies, Lyra as a teenager, locked in a chamber while guards watched her suffer through her first heat. Lyra fleeing her own people, hiding her shame as she worked quietly as a mail carrier. Daniel gasped, tears burning in his eyes. He felt her fear, her loneliness, her endless fight to be seen as more than a danger. At the same time, Lyra felt him. She saw Daniel's quiet mornings, the way he buried his pain in routines, the grief of losing family long ago, the loneliness of a man forgotten by the galaxy. She saw the stubborn courage that refused to walk away. Even now their breaths matched, their hearts beat as one. And then, the fire inside them both exploded. Golden light burst through the roof, tearing it apart. A beam shot into the night sky, lighting the colony brighter than the sun. People screamed. Some fell to their knees in awe. Others ran in terror. The guards stumbled back, their weapons useless against the storm of fire. "It's too late," one shouted. "They've bonded." Inside, Daniel and Lyra clung to each other as the fire roared. But instead of burning them alive, it fused them. The heat no longer fought to escape, it settled, pulsing in rhythm with their joined hearts. The glow around Daniel steadied. His body still burned, but it was no longer tearing him apart. Lyra's trembling stopped. Her skin shone with golden warmth, but her breathing slowed. Her eyes calm for the first time since the cycle began. Daniel panted, his forehead against hers. "Did it work?" Lyra nodded weakly, her lips trembling into the faintest smile. "Yes. We're bonded now. You anchored me. And I anchored you. The heat is balanced for now." He closed his eyes, relief flooding through him, but outside, the chaos had already spread. The colony was awake, fear running through every street. The guards regrouped, shouting orders. "Take them both to the council." "This is forbidden." Daniel's jaw tightened. He turned toward the shattered doorway, his golden glow casting shadows across the broken walls. He looked like a man reborn, fire running through his veins. Behind him, Lyra whispered, "They won't stop, Daniel. To them, We're dangerous now, they'll hunt us both. Until the end? Daniel nodded slowly, the fire in his chest steady and strong. Then let them come, he said, his voice calm but full of steel. Because I'm not letting them take you. Not now, not ever. The colony had feared chaos. And chaos had come, but what no one understood yet was this. Chaos had given birth to something stronger. A bond no fire could break. The night sky above the colony still burned with golden fire. A beam of light stretched high, fading slowly into sparks that drifted down like falling stars. The air smelled of smoke and heat. The streets were silent, filled with people who dared not come closer. Inside the ruined house, Daniel and Lyra stood side by side, their hands still locked together. Their bodies glowed faintly but no longer violently. The fire inside them had calmed. Steady and strong, the bond was complete. Lyra leaned weakly against him, her golden eyes shimmering with exhaustion. It worked, she whispered, her voice soft. The fire is under control. I can breathe again, Daniel nodded, his chest still aching from the burning. His shirt clung to his body, soaked with sweat, but his gaze was sharp. Clear, stronger than before. He could feel it. The heat inside him wasn't only hers anymore. It was theirs, shared, balanced. The pounding boots outside announced what came next. The guards returned in greater numbers. Armored and armed, their leader shouted, "Step out! You are both under arrest by order of the council." Daniel tightened his grip on Lyra's hand. His jaw clenched. Not happening, he muttered. Lyra shook her head, fear flashing across her face. Daniel, you don't understand. The bond we made, it's forbidden. No human has ever done this before. They'll see us as a threat. They'll never let us live in peace. Daniel looked down at her, his voice calm but firm. Then we don't ask for peace. We fight for it. The door burst open. Guards flooding inside, weapons hummed with crackling energy, their faces twisted in fear and determination. But when they saw Daniel glowing, standing tall beside Lyra, they froze. He was no longer just a man. He looked like something more. His veins glowed with fire, his eyes sharp with golden light. His very presence made the air tremble. One guard whispered, "He's changed," another hissed. "He's bonded with her. He's not human anymore." Daniel stepped forward, fire flickering across his fists. His voice echoed with strange strength. "If you touch her, you'll regret it." The guards hesitated. The heat pulsed outward again, not wild this time, but controlled. It pushed against their armor, forcing them back. None dared to strike first. Lyra's heart raced. She had expected Daniel to collapse, to break under the bond, but instead he stood stronger, more defiant than ever. She whispered softly, almost in awe, "Daniel, you're holding it better than I ever could." He glanced at her, managing a faint smile. "That's because we're holding it together." Outside, the crowd murmured louder, fear mixed with something else, wonder. Some whispered that the human had become a weapon. Others said he had become something holy, a savior sent to calm the aliens' fire. The guards pulled back, unsure. Their leader raised his weapon again, but his hands shook. "The council will not allow this," he barked. "You are both too dangerous to live." Daniel's eyes hardened. The fire inside his chest surged, lighting his skin brighter. "Then let the council come tell me themselves," he growled. The guards exchanged nervous glances. None of them moved forward. None of them dared. Finally, they retreated, dragging the broken door with them. The street emptied slowly, leaving only whispers carried in the night air. Daniel exhaled heavily, the glow in his body dimming. He sank onto the floor, pulling Lyra down with him, both of them exhausted, both trembling from the bond. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then Lyra spoke softly, her voice fragile. "You've ruined your life for me, Daniel. They'll never see you as human again. You'll be hunted, hated, all because of me." Daniel turned his head toward her, his tired eyes steady. "Maybe I wasn't meant to live quietly," he said simply. "Maybe this us is what I was waiting for." Tears spilled from her golden eyes. She pressed her forehead against his, whispering, "No one has ever said that to me. Not once in my life." He closed his eyes, resting his hand gently against her glowing cheek. "Then hear it again. You're not a monster, Lyra. You're not alone anymore." The night outside slowly grew quiet. The golden fire above faded into darkness. Only stars remained, calm and steady. But the colony would never forget. They had seen a human bond with an alien. They had seen fire and chaos and a man who refused to let go. Daniel and Lyra sat together in the ruins of his home, broken walls around them, the smell of smoke still thick in the air, their future uncertain, their enemies gathering. But for the first time, neither felt alone. The bond between them pulsed softly, warm, alive. It was more than survival, more than chaos. It was the beginning of something new, and as Lyra whispered, her voice trembling but sure, "Daniel, whatever comes next, we face it together." He nodded, fire still glowing faintly under his skin. Together, he repeated, the storm had passed. But the world had changed. A human and an alien had done the impossible, and nothing would ever be the same again.